Shachiputram atra swarupam Rupam tasya gajamuri purim maturim goshvatim Radha kundam girivaram Aho Radhika Madhuvasam Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurum Tamanatosmi Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Leelamaya Vigrahaya Himabhadivyats Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namah Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namah Chaitanya Chandraya Bhaktya Bhina Aparada Lakshe Chiltascha Kamaditoram Vamade Kripa Mahitvam Shanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanaravindam Brinde Namaste Charanaravindam Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Hey Krishna Everyone Hey Yama Hey Saketi Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Sham Sundar Shikhanda Shekhar Smaraha Sumurli Manara Radhika Rasakamama Kripanidhe Supriya Charna Kinkurim Kuru Tavayavasmi Na jivami tvaya vina Ichi vikyaya devi tvam Namah Charnantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadiya Paramaradattama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Parvishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotarasta Sri Rupanug Acharya Varya Sila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev to Srila Prabhupada and to our entire Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpatarus, Pasandu, Patitanam Pavanu, Vaishnavi, Do Namo. Prem Prayojan. By the causeless mercy of Sri Gauranga Gauranga, we have assembled together here in the Kunj of Sri Sri Radha Govinda to hear the Param Pavitra, supremely purifying, Parama Mangal, supremely auspicious Bhagavad Dharma Katha of the pure line of Bhagavad Dharma, pure bhakti to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, as manifested in this world by the Karuna Varunalai, the endless ocean of compassion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For 3 days, we will be hearing and remembering about the glories of our Prabhupada Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. On Monday, it will be his Tirabhav Titi. So today, I want to begin by discussing his explanation of Advaita Tattva. Advaita Tattva. Who is Advaita Acharya? I remember when I was very young, the first time I came to the house of George Harrison in England. Sri Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai. And I saw there on the wall a beautiful painting of 5 persons, the Panchatattva. And it was such a mystical experience. And I felt as if I had seen them before somehow. So one friend of mine had moved into the temple there. So I was trying to get some understanding of this, and I pointed to the person in the middle and said, "Who is that?" He said, "That's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." I asked him, "Who is he?" He said, "He's God." Really? And who is this person here? On his right side, on our left, his right side. He said, "That's Sri Nityananda Prabhu." Really? And who is that? He said, "Well, that's also God." Okay. I didn't want to be judgmental, but I was a little bit confused. So then on the far left side, I said, "And who is this person here?" He said, "That's Advaita Acharya." I said, "Don't tell me." She's God, right? Yes, how did you know? Pattern recognition. This was my first introduction to Panchatattva, Advaita Acharya. So, it was confusing. And for most people. So we may have so many thoughts, but we should know that there is nothing in the Leela of Sri Krishna. There is nothing in the Leela of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not even one small detail, which is arbitrary, which is superfluous, which is the haphazard or devoid of the most profound significance. Every fine detail of everything in every Leela is filled with unlimited nectar. So the question comes, who is this Advaita Acharya? And in what way is Advaita Acharya significant and relevant in our life also? Not that we are particularly important or the center of anything. But we should know if there's some relevance with our own life. So today, I want to discuss 6 questions and 6 answers. First of all, Why is Advaita Acharya standing on the right side of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Mayapur Yoga Peeth? Why is it? First question. Second question. Why is his name Advaita? Advaita Acharya. His passport name is a Kamalakanta Veda Panchanana. Yeah. Kamalakanta is his first name and his surname is the Veda Panchana. So, but he's known among the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Advaita Acharya. Why? Third question. Why is it that Jaya Nilo Premadhana Koruna Praju Hena Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Jaya Nilo Premadhan. He is that person who brought the treasure of divine love to this world. Heno Prabhu Kotagala. Where did he go? Acharya, Advaita Acharya Thakur. Why is it that it was Advaita Acharya? Why not someone else? Why not Srivas? Why not Gadadhar Pandit? Why not Ramananda Rai? Why not Swarab Damodar? Why Advaita Acharya? Do you think this Leela is just kind of going on? They have Ishtagoshti in the morning. Okay, who's going to volunteer to call Krishna in this yuga? Sorry, Prabhu, I'm busy. No, everything has some very profound meaning. Why is Advaita Acharya the one who brought Mahaprabhu to this world? Then, fourth question. Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Gadadhar Pandit is lifelong brahmachari and he took Ketra sannyas. Nityananda Prabhu is an avadut. Why is Advaita Acharya grihastha? Why? Did you think about it? Yes. Fifth question. There are so many ways in which Advaita Acharya might have tried to bring Krishna into this world. Why did he apply himself to the process of archan? He was worshipping Shalagram Shila. And this is the method that he took shelter of to bring Krishna in the form of Mahaprabhu into this world. Why archan? And question number, what's the next one? Number 6, yes. Okay, just seeing who's paying attention. Please pay attention, don't sleep. Try to hear very deeply. It may change your life. 6th, that is in the song that we just sang by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He said, Doya Kora Sita Pati Advaita Gosai. Oh, Sita Pati, husband of Sita Thakurani, be merciful to me. Tava Kripa Bali Pai Chaitan, only by the strength of your mercy, Kripa Bal, can one attain the mercy of Gaur Nitai. Why? Just go to Gaur Nitai. Why do you need Advaita Acharya? No. Tava Kripa Bali Pai Chaitanya Nitai. It's by the power of Advaita Acharya's mercy one can attain Gaur Nitai. So these are our 6 questions today. We'll try to complete them before midnight. Okay, so first of all, what was the first question? Raise your hand. Yes, good. Why is he's standing on the right side of Mahaprabhu? Why? Because Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupos Rupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namame Bhakti Shaktikam. In the Panchatattva, this Panchatattva, they are actually the one non-dual reality. They're one akhanda, indivisible reality. It is the Supreme Lord Himself playing in 5 features. We can include Guru there and then it becomes 6 also. Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatar Prakash. Krishna A Chai Roop Korina Vilas. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad said, Krishna himself, he's playing in 6 features. Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatar Prakash. So, from the right side manifests the Vishnu Tattva. Nityananda Bo is the Mahaprabhu, is the Bhakta Roop. Nityananda is the Bhakta Swarup. And Bhakta Avatar, the Avatar. That means Purush Avatar. Understand? Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu. He is Purush Avatar. So the Vishnu Tattvas manifest from the right side of the Lord. And the Shakti Tattvas manifest from the left. So Gadadhar Pandit is Radharani. Shakti Tattva Radhika always stands on the left of Krishna. Why? It's closer to his heart. That's why your heart is on the left. Did you know? It's nothing to do with Darwin or anything. It's about transcendental love. So on the left side of Krishna, Radhika is there. The Shaktis come from the left side. And Krishna himself, in his own angsa and kala, expansions and his Vaibhav Prakash and avatar, come from the right side. Now, why is he called Advaita? Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami made some notes called Swarup Damodar Kadacha. And this Kadacha he taught to Raghunath Das Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami taught it to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad. And on the basis of that Kadacha, they became the mantras from which the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita was manifest. So in regard to Advaita Acharya, there in the Kadacha of Swarup Damodar he said, Mahavishnur Jagad Karta Maya Ya Srajatyada Tasyavatara Evayam Advaita Acharya Ishvara. What is the meaning? Mahavishnu Jagatkarta. Mahavishnu is the creator of the universe. Maya ya yasrajatyaja. He sends the universe forth through the potency Maya. He has his own potency, but that is Ramadevi. But the shadow of that potency is the mature energy Maya Devi. So Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suryate Sacharacharam. Under my supervision, that means literally my supervision. That is by the supervision, the transcendental glance of Mahavishnu towards Ramadevi. Then her shadow, Maya, creates the universe in accordance with the desire of the Lord. So, Mahavishnu Jagatkarta Maya Srijatada Tasya Vatara Evayam. Advaita Acharya, his avatar. That means that Mahavishnu has 2 features. Just as Maya Devi has 2 aspects. What are the 2 aspects of Maya Devi? Maya. No, we're talking about the Maya, the Mahamaya. 2 aspects of Mahamaya. They are... Good guess is coming here. We'll get to that later. The 2 aspects of Maya are a Nimitta Maya and Upadan Maya. Nimitta Maya and Upadan Maya. What does Nimitta mean? Nimitta means the instrumental cause. And Upadan means the ingredient cause. Just like a potter. If a potter, he puts some clay on the wheel, and then he has some instrument, some stick, and he uses it to shape the clay. So the stick is the instrumental cause of the pot. And the clay itself is the ingredient cause of the pot. And the potter himself is the cause of both the ingredient and the instrument. So here, Maya has two aspects, the ingredient Maya, Upadan Maya, and Nimitta Maya. We'll look at Nimitta Maya first. Nimitta Maya, the instrumental aspect of Maya, acts directly on the jiva. And she has two aspects, Vidyavriti and Avidyavriti. The Vidyavriti of Maya, that's the knowledge potency. It comes from her energy of Sattva-gun. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam, Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. Knowledge comes from Sattva-gun. What kind of knowledge? Only de atma vivek, the discrimination between the body and the self. Only this comes from Sattva-gun. Not positive, but you can negate. You can understand what I am not, what I am, when Sattva-gun comes. So the Dehatma Vivek, that is Gyan, it comes from the Vidyavriti of Maya. So those who are in Sattva-gun, they Sukha Sangeta Badnati Jnana Sangena Chanaga. Krishna said, hey Arjun, those in the mode of goodness are also conditioned by a sense of knowledge and a sense of happiness. Gyan and Sukh, two things, Badnati, that they are bound by, because if someone's in the mode of goodness, they're healthy, they live a long life. If they compare themselves to everyone else, they're relatively much better off than everyone else. And yes, I'm successful. And so that Sattva-gun can make them become complacent. In spirit, where's the greed? Where's the fire? This is our deadly enemy in spiritual life. What is that? Being lukewarm. Lukewarm. Yes, I'm interested in Krishna consciousness. But a few other things as well. So the eagerness can be there, but if we're not on fire, then we cannot really progress. So complacency can come from the feeling of material happiness, and Gyan, a wisdom relatively superior to others in this world. But this knowledge is all like negative abstraction. Kaivalyam sattvikam jnanam rajo vaikalpitam chayat. From Sattva-gun only comes the negative knowledge, negative abstraction, kaivalya. So to be bound by Sattva-gun is also binding in that respect. It's like being in jail with golden chains. Rajagun is like silver chains and Tamagun like iron chains. It's all chains. So there is the Vidyavriti of Maya and then the Avidyavriti of Maya. The Avidyavriti of Maya comes from Rajagun. And it has the two aspects. And that our dear Atu Krishna Prabhu was explaining. Avranatmaka and Vikshepatmaka. First, the Avidyavriti covers our awareness of ourselves as spiritual beings. A person, even though the soul itself is made of consciousness, he becomes unconscious of his own constitution. This is the impossible power of Maya. Sayam Bhagavato Mayam Yanyayena Virudyate Ishvarasya Vimuktasya Karpanyam Utabandhanam. In third canto it is said, oh, just see the power of the Maya of the Supreme Lord. Yanyayena Virudyate. It can completely oppose logic. Maya has the power to oppose logic. How can a being who is constitutionally consciousness lose aware of his conscious nature and think I'm a physical being? But Avaranamika Shakti first covers his awareness of himself And then vikshepatmaka. It means distraction. What is he distracted by? For that, you have to just put nimitta maya to one side, and we'll look at the other aspect of maya. That is upadan maya, the ingredient maya. Upadan maya, in Western philosophy, it would be called prime matter. Prime matter, that is the just pure potential. There's no form or shape there, but it's a pure potential that can condense into the grosser forms of this world. So that is pradhan. Pradhan is the prime matter, the pure, undifferentiated potential that can condense, it can grossify to become all the various elements, such as mahat, that is chitta, ahankar, sutra tattva, that is pran. Sutra tattva is pran. Then ahankar, buddhi, manas, and all the senses and sense objects and gross elements. So this is pradhan. So from the upadan maya, all the ingredients of the world come. And from the avidravriti of maya, nimitta, then the soul is covered, and then vikshep means thrown. His attention is thrown to see what all these ingredients are up to. And so it's the dance of those ingredients and the fascination with that. It's what we call life. All the elements, just like bubbles in the ocean, forming and bursting and disappearing again. But we're in such a state of vikshep, distraction from our soul, that we're watching the whole thing and laughing and crying with the drama. Oh, someone was born. Wonderful. Oh, someone is dying. Alas, alas. I am also dying. So the soul is not born, the soul does not die. The soul has nothing to do with any of these things. We're all mamayvangsa jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatana, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, eternal souls. And we have a glorious prospect. We exist what for? Prema Prayojan. The goal of life is only love for Krishna. In Golok Vrindavan. This is why we're here. Everything else is just a distraction. Everything else is just children playing in the sandbox. So there has to be a point where we stop playing in the sandbox, get up, and become adults. That is, adult means to assume responsibility in life. What is our responsibility? Shraddha Shobde Vishwas Kohi Surida Nishchay. Krishna Bhakti Koili Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Faith means the unflinching conviction that simply by serving Krishna, I have done everything. All responsibilities, everything have been discharged to the ultimate degree. This is Shraddha. That is the first awakening of the true nature of Atma, of the soul. So, just as, why are we discussing this? Nimitta Maya, Upadan Maya. Just as Maya has two aspects, Nimitta and Upadan. So in the same way, Maha Vishnur Jagatkata Maya Ya Yaha Srijatchada. Just as Maya has two aspects, Nimitta and Upadan, so in the same way, Mahavishnu has two aspects. So the Mahavishnu, who is the Lord of the Shakti, whose shadow is Nimitta Maya, his name is Karnabdashayi Vishnu. Karnabdashayi Vishnu. And the aspect of Mahavishnu, whose Shakti, the shadow of whose Shakti is Upadan Maya. His name is Advaita Acharya.
Can you say that again, please?
And is anyone else requesting that? Yeah? Can you hear that? That aspect of Mahavishnu, the shadow of whose Shakti is Nimitta Maya. His name is Karnabdashayi Vishnu. That is Mahavishnu in the causal ocean. And Tasya Avatara Evayam Advaita Acharyam Ishvara. His avatar, his expansion, The shadow of whose Shakti is the Upadan Maya. His name is Advaita Acharya. That is Advaita. So, you should know, Mahavishnu, he is the creator. And Mahavishnu, he has Shakti. Now, his Shakti is a personality. Rama Devi. So in this world, we think there's fire and fire has its Shakti. But the light of the fire doesn't have a personality. But it's not like that with the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord has a Shakti, and his Shakti has her own will and her own power. However, her will, because he's Shaktiman and she's Shakti, her will is completely subordinate to his will. And she has a shadow Shakti as well, and that is Maya. So two forms of Maya. So, I'll, just for good measure, I'll say one more time. That form of Mahavishnu, the shadow of whose Shakti is the Nimitta Maya. His name is Karnaptishayi Vishnu. And his expansion, that form of Mahavishnu, the shadow of whose spiritual Shakti, she is the Upadan Maya. So, that is, his name is Advaita Acharya. Now this Shakti, the female Shaktis, which have their own will, they have their own personality, but completely subordinate to the Shaktiman. Their powers extend and project and manifest things within themselves. And those are the objects of this world. So they are also distinct from the Shakti itself and from the Shaktiman. So all what we are seeing in this world, the extensions and projections of the shadow of the Shakti of Advaita Acharya. So if you're wondering, oh, is this the way the Acharya discussion? Is this relevant to me? Is there anything to which it is not relevant? Every single thing that you are seeing is the expansion, the extension and projection within the shadow of the Shakti of Advaita Acharya. Relevant or not? Yes. So, because in the Taittiriya Upanishad it is said, Shakti Shaktiman Abhed. There's a sense, there is a achintya beda beda tattva, an inconceivable identity and difference between the Lord and his Shakti. Therefore, nothing can ever be separated from God. So when we see things and we think they are separated from God, that is our illusion, that is moha, our bewilderment, our forgetfulness. So, in Vedic culture, there are 6 classical philosophies. So Nyaya, logic, Vaisheshik, Vedic atomic theory, Sankhya, the theory of Purusha and Prakriti, Yoga, Purvamimamsa, and Vedanta. Now of these, Nyaya, Vaisheshik, Sankhya, Yoga, and Purvamimamsa, they're called Vedic because at least they give lip service to the Vedas, even though they're either completely wrong or incomplete. But they give lip service to the Vedas. So they're called Vedic, Astic. They're Astic philosophers. They're not Nastic philosophers. They've rejected the Vedas like a Jain Darshan or Buddhism or Charvaka Darshan, gross materialism. They're called Vedic, but they're not called Vedanta. Why? What makes philosophy Vedanta? What is the speciality of Vedanta? The speciality of Vedanta is abhinna nimitta upadana. Abhinna nimitta upadana. That there is a non-difference between the instrumental cause and the ingredient cause of the world. So we know from the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, who is Krishna? Krishna is Leela Bihari. He's in joy of pastimes in the kunjas of Braja. And we worship Krishna as Leela Bihari. We don't worship him as a tattva. But we'll have to know him as a tattva to begin with. Siddhanta baliya chite nakaro alas, jahoiti Krishna lagi suridat panas. The vast and beautiful palace, the Rasa Mahal, the palace of Rasa, can only be built upon the deep and rock-steady foundation of Tattva Siddhanta. So our first introduction to Krishna is Tattva. After that, when our Tattva is strong, then the Rasa Mahal may be constructed. So, Vadanti Tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagan iti shabdyate. Sutta Goswami is very humble. He never said, I know the truth. He said, Vadanti tattva vida. Those who know the truth, they say this thing. I'm just repeating it. Preacher never thinks he's a preacher. Preacher always thinks Gurudev is a preacher. And if Gurudev wants his message to be heard by others, then he may use me as an instrument and others may hear. Otherwise, if Gurudev does not want to use me as an instrument to make his message heard, it doesn't matter how many hours I go on and quote so many slokas, no one will understand anything. Preacher has no kartrita abhiman of being the doer, like Lokanath Das Goswami. Narottam Das Thakur. He said, Lokanath Lokara Jivana. Narottam Das Thakur was wandering here and there doing kirtan, making thousands and thousands of people dance and come to life. But he never thought, I am invigorating everyone. He said, Lokanath Lokara Jivana. My Gurudev, who was sitting in Vrindavan, absorbed in chanting Harinam, remembering the Astakali Leela of C.C. Radha Vinod, Lokanath Das Goswami, by his mercy, by his desire, he's using me, and my Gurudev is making everyone dance and come alive. So, the preachers are like this, Sutta Goswami is like this. He said, Vadanti tattva vedas tattvam yad jnanam advayam. Those who know the truth, they say that the absolute truth is Advaya Gyan Tattva. He is the non-dual conscious reality. Advaya means akhanda, indivisible reality. That indivisible, non-dual reality cannot be understood by anyone on the mental platform, because the mind gives rise to dvandva, duality. So as long as one is on the mental platform of experiencing duality, vikalpa, accepting and rejecting, our senses are scanning the environment and isolating certain things and blurring other things into the background for a moment before that gets blurred and we move on to something else. So the fickle mind is always moving around, accepting and rejecting, living in the state of, putting the soul in the state of duality. In that state, no one can understand what is the absolute truth. Advaita. And so, Advaita, when we attain the mercy of Advaita, and we realize that it is the Shakti of Advaita, the shadow of his Shakti is manifesting everything. He's the Lord of the ingredient cause of the whole world. And therefore we cannot be for one moment separated from God. Not even a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. When we realize, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, that when we realize that in all the complications and the difficulties of this world, there is something pure, eternal, and auspicious and beneficial for us, then we have received the mercy of Advaita Acharya. He is the Lord of the ingredient. And so there is nothing separate from him. So when one has that Advaita vision, non-dual vision, the vision of Advaita, then tatenu kampam susamekshamano bunjanam evatmakritam vipaka. Everything is the mercy of the Lord. All difficulties, all complications, all problems, they are to make me become exhausted and give up trying to dominate the material energy and accept my position of an eternal servant of the Supreme. Kindness, kindness. Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, the Supreme Lord is so kind that he has decorated the entire world with problems. That's his kindness. Just like when there's a festival and you hang so many flower garlands and flags and festoons everywhere. Joy! It's a festival, Mahotsav. So when we get the mercy of Advaita Acharya, then we walk through the world, joy, joy. Look, the whole universe is decorated. It's a big festival of disaster, calamity, and problems. And it's all mercy. It's all mercy. It's just pure mercy to help us realize who we are. Joy. Advaita Acharya ki. Joy. Do you have any problems in your life? No, they've all gone. Mask off. They've all revealed their face. It's the mercy of the Lord. Right? Atmani Vedana tua pade kori hoinu paramasuki dukkha dhure gelo chintana rohilo chaudike ananda dekhi. Oh my Lord, since I surrendered to you, I've become fully joyful. All my cares and problems are gone far away, and I see only joy. Great festival in all 4 directions. So, Krishna said in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Atmaiva tadidam vishvam srijate srijati prabhu trayate trati vishvatma hriyate haritishvara. Such a beautiful verse. This verse really embodies the Siddhanta of Vedanta, the conclusion of Vedanta, of the non-difference between the instrumental cause and the ingredient cause. Atmaiva tadidam vishvam. Here it's stated that God himself is this universe in one sense. This universe is one form of God. We can say Virat Rup. So this universe is one form of God. Because Pradhan, the material energy, had no shapes in it. It was undifferentiated. And then when Vishnu enters into the Pradhan, then it becomes all the forms that we see. So whose forms are they? Sahasa Shisha Purusha Sahasrakshas Sahasabhate Sabhumin Vishvato Vritva Atyatishta Dashangulam. Thousands of heads everywhere. Here's one head, another head, another. The 1,000-headed Purush. But we are claiming, no, this is my head. Leave my head alone. This belongs to me. Isha Vasamidam Sarvam. No, everything belongs to the Lord. So Atmaiva tadidam vishvam. Or Narad told to Vyasadeva, Idami Vishvam Bhagavan Ivetaro Yato Jarakstana Niroda Sambhava. Oh, this universe is himself the Supreme Lord. Ivetaro, but the Lord himself also exists in his own Swarup. Distinct from the world as well. Idami Vishvam Bhagavan He. Ivetaro and Itara, and he's also separate from it. So Atmaiva tadidam vishvam srijate srijati prabhu. The Supreme Lord srijati. He sends forth the world. He creates. And srijate means he is created. Meaning that he sends forth the world as the creator. And he is created means he is the creator and the created. He's the nimitta and the upadan. Trayate trati vishvatma. Being the soul of the universe. Trati. He's the one who protects and maintains the world. And trayate, the thing that he's maintaining and protecting, is himself. The Sanskrit is very elegant. I told Krishna Prabhu, I know, he knows Sanskrit very well. Srijate srijati prabhu. Trayate trati vishvatma hriyate haritishvara. Hriyate haritishvara. And harati, he withdraws the world. And hriyate, he is the thing that is withdrawn. So when we realize this, it's called Advaita. Then we're free from duality. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajanti mam vridabrata. Krishna said, those who have acted piously, Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam, those who acted piously in this life and in previous lives. What is this punya karma? Planting trees? Opening hospitals? This punya karma, that means those who did sadhu sangha. Those who are associated in sadhus in this life and in the previous life. What happens to them? Te dvandva moha. They become free from dvandva, from duality. And when they're free from duality, after that, bhajanti mam dridhabrataha. Then that person does bhajan very, very firmly with great determination. He's not distracted because there's nothing to distract him. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, one who actually comes in knowledge, he realizes Vasudeva sarvamiti. Supreme Lord is everything and everywhere. So, this is the meaning of Advaita. When we attain the mercy of Advaita, then we can realize this fact. So now, why is Advaita, Acharya, the cause of the Lord's appearance? So this is called the doctrine of mediation. You know, when Advaita Acharya appeared in this world before the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, he was living in Shantipur. When he was young, he went on parikrama everywhere, visiting all the holy places. He came to Vrindavan, and there on the bank of the Jamuna at Advaita Vat, what is now known as Advaita Vat, he discovered Madan Gopal. And then when Radharani came, then Madan Gopal became Madan Mohan. Because if Radharani is not there, then he's not Madan Mohan, he's Madan Mohit. He doesn't bewilder Cupid, he himself gets bewildered by Cupid. If Radharani is not there. So Madan Gopal was discovered by Advaita Acharya, and he wanted to bring Madan Gopal with him back to Bengal. But as he was leaving Braj, he was going through Mathura, Madan Gopal said, no, I don't want to leave Braj. Leave me here in this house, in the house of this Chauben. And so Advaita Acharya left Madan Gopal in the house of a Chaturvedi Brahmin lady. Many years later, Sanatana Goswami came and discovered him there. So Advaita Acharya, when he was living in Shantipur during his younger days, in his household life then, Madhavendra Puri, a sannyasi, came and visited his home, and he was so impressed he received Diksha from Madhavendra Puri. And Advaita Acharya had another house, just next door to Jagannath Mishra's place, next door to Srivas Thakur. Have you been there, Advaita Bhavan? Huh? Have not been there? Then you must come to Navadvip Parikrama. I'm inviting everyone, please. Come and join us on Navadvip Parikrama this year. We don't do it in the 5 days leading up to Gaurapanim because it's very crowded at that time. We do it like a month earlier. So I'm inviting everyone to participate. It's very quiet and peaceful at that time. You don't have to compete with the crowds. So Advaita Acharya, he had a house in Shantipur, and he had another house next to Srivas Thakur's house in Mayapur, and there he had a Sanskrit toll. He had a Sanskrit school, and he was teaching also Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam there for free. This is the proper occupation of a Brahmin. They teach for free, never charging anything. Anyone who is charging, they're not a teacher. They cannot give you anything spiritual or transcendental. So, but when we first introduced to Advaita Acharya in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, we don't find that he's focused on teaching at that time. Before the appearance of Mahaprabhu, he was staying in Shantipur, and he was, because he's a Grihastha, and it's part of Grihastha Dharma, you must have Vigraha, you must have deities in your home, and do Archan every day. If a Grihastha will not have Vigraha deities in the home and do Archan every day, then there can very easily be washed away by the Vishaitaranga, waves of the drama of this world. So it's important to establish your house is not your house, it's Krishna's house. And Krishna is the center of everything, and everything that we're doing, whatever work a person is doing, whether if they're going shopping or whatever they're doing, it's all for Thakurji. Krishna has to be the center of everything. Otherwise, there's no other way to survive. So Advaita Acharya, being a householder, he was engaged in archan every day, and he was worshipping Tulsi. He saw that by and large the world was devoid of Krishna consciousness, and it gave pain to his heart. Advaita Acharya's heart was breaking. He was filled with compassion for all the lost souls. That's not someone else, by the way. That's me and you. He was concerned about us. Why? Jiva Paramatma Vaibhava. Where do the jivas come from? They're the Vaibhav of the Purusha avatar. We have not come from Goloka Vrindavan. We come out from the eyes of Mahavishnu into the womb of the material energy. So he is directly related with us. So Advaita Acharya being Mahavishnu, he's very concerned about us. And so he thought, how can the living entities be delivered? Only if Krishna himself will come. And he looked through the Shastra and he found in the Brihad Gautamiya Tantra, Tulasi Dalamatrena Jalasa Chulakenava Vikrinite Swam Atmanam Bhaktebhyo Bhaktavatsala. Krishna said that if someone will offer me a palm full of water and a tulsi leaf, then I find nothing in my treasury to be of equal value as that tulsi leaf and a palm full of water. And therefore, that person purchases me. I sell myself. Krishna says, Swadatmanam. Krishna said, I sell my soul to that person who worships me with a tulsi leaf and a palm full of water. If Ganga Jal is good, Netra Jal is better. Tears from the eyes. And Krishna will sell himself to that person. So every day Advaita Acharya was loudly roaring, Krishna! Krishna! And worshipping Shalagram Shila. Why? For us. To bring Mahaprabhu to this world. Why does Krishna come to this world? Does he come here on his own initiative? No. He never comes on his own initiative. He only comes by invitation. When he's invited by someone who loves him, because he's controlled by love, then he's brought here by love. Because we cannot say, oh, God comes to this world to deliver the living entities. This is not the whole story, because the living entities here don't want to be delivered. Right? If there's a party going on and you've not been invited, right? Then what will you do? You're not going to show up. Hi, everyone. I'm here. It was, oh no. We never invited this person. We deliberately didn't put him on the list. You won't do that. So in the same way, this world is full of persons. They don't want to know God. They're against God. You say, no, who's against God? You know that sense gratification is not like a neutral thing. Engaging the senses in worldly enjoyment is direct and active hostility to God. So just get it out of your mind. Don't think, yeah, I love Krishna. I'm just going to engage in a little bit of this neutral sense gratification. It's nothing personal. It's a neutral thing. No. Vishai, Bhog, Bhog Briti, the tendency to enjoy the material energy is direct hostility towards the Supreme Lord. And mukti, sense gratification, is active hostility, and the desire for mukti, impersonal liberation, moksha, nirvana, is passive hostility. Two types of hostility to God, active and passive. The desire to enjoy the world is active hostility to God, and the desire to renounce the world and give it up, impersonalism, is the passive hostility to God. But both are two types of hostility. So Krishna is not just going to come to this world where he hasn't been invited to interfere in the lives of persons to whom he gave free will and are actively opposed to him. He won't do that. So why does he come? Therefore, the principle of mediation is there. He will only come when someone who loves him begs him to come here. That is Advaita Acharya. Why does Advaita Acharya invite him to come here? Because if the Lord will come here and perform his pastimes, then the living entities in this world will get some chance, some opportunity to do some, however imperfect, service. And when a living entity, by chance, does some agyata sukriti, unknown devotional activity, he's not aware that it's a devotional activity, but he does something in relation to Krishna and his devotees, then that has an accumulative effect on the judgment of that soul. And it makes the soul reconsider his choice. Have I made the right choice to be indifferent to God, to be hostile to God, to be averse to God? Or should I turn towards him? Because he's so beautiful and he's so loving and so merciful. He's Bhakta Vatsalya, so affectionate to his devotees. He's Prema Vasyata, he's controlled by love. I think I've made a mistake. So when a living entity is indifferent, just doesn't care about God, then two things happen. By turning his face away from Krishna, then he loses the soul's natural awareness that Krishna is Supreme Lord. Savai priyatamaschatma. God is naturally dear to the soul. But he loses this awareness of the lordship of Krishna. And he loses awareness of his own status as a servant. In this world, if someone has to do some service, it's begrudgingly, it's reluctantly, it's with hesitation. And okay, I'll do it, but you have to pay me. There has to be some self-interest involved. Otherwise, we don't act. Everything in this world has terms and conditions. But that's part of the covering of the soul, not the soul. Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishna Nitya Das. The soul is by nature, doesn't care about himself. The soul by nature, Jivera Swarupa Krishna Dasa Abhiman. Atmadeya Jnani Achadite Se Jnana. The living entity has the ego. I am your servant. I live just to please you. That's the Abhiman of the soul. But that is covered. Atmadeya Jnani Achadite Se Jnana. That knowledge is covered by accepting the body to be the self. So when a soul is in a state of vimukata, indifference to God, at that time he gets covered. His natural awareness becomes overlaid with an adventitious awareness. No, adventitious, it means it's something foreign, it's something unnatural, it's a superimposition. And that adventitious awareness has two aspects. That the adventitious awareness is always trying to figure things out. Oh, how is this? How is that? But whatever conclusion it comes to is one, either it doesn't come to a conclusion. The thoughts of this adventitious consciousness are either inconclusive or contradictory, incoherent. So if he comes to a conclusion, the conclusion is completely contradictory. And if he doesn't have a contradiction in his thoughts, it's because he didn't come to a conclusion yet. And that's every material thought. That's everything that's going on in your head, on the mental platform. If you don't chant 64 rounds every day. Manana trayatriyasya tasya mantra prakirtita. Because it delivers one from manan, the fluctuations of the material mind. Therefore it's called mantra. That which delivers us from the akalyanmay chinta srot, the inauspicious flow of thoughts in the material mind. Akalyanmay chinta srot. The flow of thoughts is there in the mind, and it is inauspicious. And those thoughts are either inconclusive or contradictory. You can see it. When Socrates was going everywhere, meeting famous and intelligent and aristocratic dignitaries in society, and he was asking them questions because they were respected for their opinions. But by the Alentius, by interrogating them again and again, then it was uncovered that everything that they thought that they knew, just on examination, was filled with contradictions. And he led them into a state of aporia. Just, nothing makes sense anymore. Everything I thought I know is a total contradiction. No wonder they wanted to kill him. He was exposing everyone. But that's the nature of this, the adventitious consciousness. When we turn away from God, we become overlaid with this adventitious consciousness, which has the characteristics of inconclusivity and contradiction. And we cannot get out of that. We think of ourselves that I am the arbiter of truth. I am the enjoyer of this world. And I am in control as well. I am in control, even though things go out of control all the time, but still I'm in control. And because we think I am the enjoyer, we can't give up the idea that I'm in control. Because it's the idea that we're in control which is fulfilling our fantasy that we can be the enjoyer. Right? And so the conditions of material existence perpetuate themselves. You see? It's a self-perpetuating state of mind. We can see that we're not in control, but we cannot give up the idea that we're in control, because if we don't have the hope that I am in control, then we'll not be able to maintain the mentality that I'm the enjoyer. So now the question comes that if the very nature of conditioned thoughts perpetuate themselves, how can the soul get out? How can the soul get out? He cannot get out. He cannot get out. So therefore, there is the doctrine of mediation. Atmado jnanado bhavet. Atmado jnanado bhavet means because the living entity cannot get out from his ignorance by himself, there must be another person who is in knowledge, who can inspire him. And therefore, the doctrine of mediation is necessary. So, to gain insight into the role of Advaita Acharya, let's compare the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the appearance of Krishna. If Advaita Acharya is the cause of the Lord appearing in this world, then what about Krishna Lila? Did Advaita Acharya make Krishna appear in this world? Yes. Yes, consider this. First of all, what happened? When the world was overburdened with the unnecessary military defense forces of so many demons, disguised as kings, demons who were disguised as kings. At that time, Mother Earth, she was heartbroken, and she went to Lord Brahma. And then Brahma, along with the Devatas, they set off and they came to the shore of the ocean of milk. And then they began to pray And when they finished the Purusha Shukta, crickets. Nothing, no reply. It shows that the Supreme Lord is a doxage beyond the senses, even of the great demigods. So then Brahma, he went into Samadhi. And in his Samadhi, Kirdakashay Vishnu spoke to him and told him that Krishna will appear and gave some instructions how the demigod should take birth on earth. In the Yadu dynasty, the wives of the Devatas should take birth in Gokul and so on. These instructions were given. So what happened here? The Devatas, they did not go to Krishna or try to pray to Krishna for Krishna to appear. They went to a mediator. That mediator was Kirdakashay Vishnu in the ocean of milk. And praying to him, then Kirdakashay Vishnu mediated on behalf of them and called Krishna. Krishna told him what to say, and then he told them what to do. So the three Vishnus are one. Mahavishnu, Garbhodakasha Vishnu, and Kirdakasha, they are one. So just as Advaita Acharya was the mediator who called Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come into this world, so in the same way, when the Devatas came on the shore of the ocean of milk, then Advaita Acharya, in the form of Kirdakashay Vishnu, was the mediator who called Krishna and then delivered the news what would happen as well. So, Jaya Nilo Premadana Karna Pachua. Henu Prabhu Kotagela Acharya. That person who brings the divine love into this world, that is Advaita Acharya. So in this way. There's one significant distinction between the invocation of Advaita Acharya in Gaura Lila and in this pastime. And that is that the devotees, that is Mother Earth and Lord Brahma, they're all devotees, and they went to Vishnu. And they prayed to Vishnu, then Vishnu was the mediator. And he called Krishna. But in Gaura Lila, because Krishna will appear in the mood of a devotee, Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Srupakam Bhakta Avatar. So now the Supreme Lord and all of his expansions, they take the role of bhaktas. So here Advaita Acharya plays the role of devotee, and in Gaura Lila he becomes like Brahma and the Devatas because he's playing the role of the devotee and he's praying. So he's both Vishnu and the devotee in this Lila of the call of Advaita Acharya. Now consider this. This principle of mediator, the principle of mediation that we have discussed in Krishna Lila and in Gaura Lila is the same in your life. In your life as well. You know, there's a terrible war going on at the moment. I don't want to talk about it, but nowadays, because it's the social media era, so everything's on social media. So some person that volunteered to go and fight in the war, and they were all full of enthusiasm. Yeah, I'm going to be a hero and fight in this war, and I'm going to write back. I'm going to post everything online and get so many likes. So on the first day, he got in the trenches and the bombs were landing all over the place. Then with trembling hands, he was typing away on his phone. He posted to all his followers, I'm here and I'm praying to God. And I'm an atheist. I don't even believe in God, but I'm praying to God. He wrote that. There's a saying from many years ago, from perhaps the First World War, there's no such thing as an atheist in the trenches, right? There's no such thing as an atheist when these bombs are coming down all over you, all around you, and it just seems like random, anything could happen, and you're about to die. The soul immediately prays to God. God, save me. I don't even believe you, but please save me anyway. But which God is that? They're not praying to Radha Govinda, Kunj Bihari, Yashoda Nandan. They're not praying to that God. They're praying to that God who's the creator of the world. Who is that? Vishnu. And of all the Vishnus, who's the closest? Advaita. Because he's the Lord of the ingredient course. So they're praying to the most proximate feature of God. And anyone in his life who was ever lost, who was ever confused, and they stopped and said, oh God, what is it all about? And they prayed to God. How is that different from the Devatas going to the shore of the ocean of milk? They go to Kiradakashay Vishnu, and who's the name of this fellow in the heart here? The Pradesh Matra this high, standing on the lotus of the heart. It's Kiradakashay Vishnu. It's the same. It's the same principle. When we want God to intervene, we want a divine intervention in our life. It's the same story. It's all the same story. The soul turns to Kiradakashay Vishnu in his heart and prays. And when the Kiradakashay Vishnu, the Lord of the heart, who is non-different from Advaita Acharya, then when he hears this prayer, then he begins to loosen the bondage of the avidya vritti of Maya. Because he is the nearest person. And he's like the Father, our Father, who art in the milk ocean. And so Krishna doesn't know anything. Krishna is Mugdha. I was discussing this yesterday with Mukunda Prabhu. Hari Brindaranye Param Anisham Utscha Viharati. Krishna is totally lost. For him, the universe is just the Kunj. The Kunj is his cosmos. He only knows what's going on in the Kunj in his pastimes with Radhika and the Braj Gopis. That's his world. Don't call him. His phone is off. You can't call him. The soul is calling out to the Creator, because we are here in the creation, and the God of the creation is Vishnu. And Advaita Acharya is the nearest one. In fact, when the living entity is in the state of turning away from God, it's the power, the shadow of the power of Advaita Acharya that accomplishes his complete bewilderment. In other words, our bondage is accomplished by Advaita Acharya. Krishna himself doesn't put us in the bondage of material existence. That is done by Advaita Acharya. So he holds the keys. He holds the keys, and we have to get his mercy first. Is this interesting? Yes. I'm just asking because that's not why I'm asking. I'm asking because I can give you the full version. I can give you the bridge version. Do you want to hear full version? Okay. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says that the soul who has turned away from the Lord, he has a propensity towards monism. He has a propensity towards monism. Why is that? Because if you look at the sun, the bright sun, and then you turn away, then what you get? When you look away, you have a black spot in your vision. It's called a negative after image. So in the same way, Krishna is like the sun. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Aya Andaka Yahan Krishna Tan Nahi Maya Adika. So when a living entity turns away from God, his consciousness is eclipsed by a negative after image. And that is the Gyan Abhav. The negative after image is not a thing. It's the absence of a thing. It's a blind spot. So in the same way, the Gyan above is not consciousness. It's the absence of consciousness. It's the absence of knowledge. So his soul becomes eclipsed by Gyan above, the absence of knowledge. And of course, that which is an absence is uniform. It has no variety in it. And so because in the depth of our consciousness, we have this emptiness, we always have a tendency towards monism. That everything can be reduced to one simple, homogeneous, unconscious void. Nirvishesha shunyavadi paschatya deshatarne. That's deeply there in our consciousness. It's not some philosophy out there. Oh, Mayavadi is that. No, it's the nature. And that monism takes two forms. Because we are aware of two things. The outer world, the objects of the world, and our own mind, which we take to be the subject. We have this subject-object duality. So if we think that the objective things are the basis of everything, then we think that matter is the basis of everything, and everything has come from matter, and we become a materialist. And if we think that our own thoughts, our own abstractions are the basis of everything, then we become impersonalists. You know? So one person thinks, oh, matter is everything, and the mind is just a product of matter. So they're called physicalists or materialists. Or we become idealists and say, no, it is not that the mind is a product of the world, but the world is a product of the mind. It's all an illusion. It's all created by your mind. Right? Yeah? That's the first level of enlightenment that any teenager gets the first time they get stoned. Right? Completely enlightened. It's all an illusion. It's all a product of my mind. Okay? So both of these positions are they're not the laudable positions. So these are two types of monism. Two types of monism. One is the physicalism. That's a type of monism. Everything's matter. It's a dynamic monism. Everything's matter. It's just moving. And that's why the scientists who accept matter to be everything, they don't think about a creator or a first cause, because it's just all moving. It's all going on. One thing came from another thing that came from another thing. So they don't think about God or a creator. And if everything is just empty consciousness, there's also no God or creator. On the other side, there is the concept that there is a creator. This is also problematic. That God created the world ex nihilo, from nothing. If God created the world ex nihilo, from nothing, then what's the relationship of the things here and God? Then God becomes like the watchmaker, you know, the famous example in Deism. The watchmaker makes a clock and he winds it up and puts it on the shelf and goes away. So that's what the world is. God created the world and now he's gone. He's like an absentee father. Huh? And everything's just going on here. And then you don't even think that there's karma or anything, that there's some divine justice. Everything's just in a chaos, and everything is chaos, and it's all injustice. And then maybe on Judgment Day in the future, God will fix everything and make all the accounts straight. At some point in the future. Right? But no, there's divine justice at every moment. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that on the one hand you have the two types of monism, physicalism and idealism. Everything is matter or everything is the mind. And on the other side you have creationism. The idea that there's God and he created the world out of nothing, so he's separate from it. And both of these are dangerous. The dangers of impersonalism and materialism are obvious, but the danger of the God created the world out of nothing and he's separate from it, is that you can't get out of dvandva, duality. Right? You're always in this state of dvandva, duality. It is only when you understand Advaita Tattva, Abhinna Nimittupadan, that God is not only the creator of the watch, but He's also the watch. The world isn't even a machine. It's a living thing. But God is the creator and is also the created thing. That you can never escape from Him, that He is everywhere. That there's nothing other than Him. Then one becomes free from duality. So if you accept this, the extreme creationism, which is common everywhere, people just take it for granted, then this also has its danger that you cannot come into Advaita. And this is why it's important to get the mercy of Advaita. By the mercy of Advaita, we'll come in Advaita. By realizing the Advaita Tattva, we'll realize the Advaita Paratattva. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave these two extremes, creationism on one side and the material and idealistic monism on the other. He called them the Scylla and Charybdis. You know, in the ancient Greek legends, there was in the Strait of Messina, there was a place in the ocean, the Strait of Messina, and one side was Scylla and one side was Charybdis. So Scylla was a six-headed monster. And if someone came in a boat and came too close, then the six-headed monster would come and eat the sailors. So then they would try to steal the boat away from the Scylla. And on the other side was Charybdis. So Charybdis was a huge whirlpool. They used to suck in water and then spit it out every day. And so in this, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is giving this example from ancient Greek mythology, that the soul is trying to navigate through life. And what does he do? Either he gets eaten by the Scylla or drowned by Charybdis. That means he goes into creationism, which keeps him in a state of duality, or he goes into monism and becomes a materialist or an idealist. Like this. And he can't find the truth. So how can we navigate through the central point and not become trapped or wrecked on either side? And so that is by the mercy of Advaita Acharya. When the living entity turns away from God, it's Advaita Acharya who through his energy and through the shadow of his energy, he consummates the bewilderment of the living being. But it is also the mercy of Advaita Acharya by which a living entity gets his first experience of transcendence. Because when a person cries and prays to God in their heart, and Advaita Acharya, he makes some arrangement to gradually loosen the bondage of illusion. The soul doesn't come completely out of illusion. Only if that bondage, only in that total, the infatuation with the drama of the world, if it becomes just a little bit loose, then the soul can reconsider, what am I doing with my life? I have the material path, which will lead to 100% the endless chain of birth and death. So that's the disaster. Or I have the spiritual path, surrender to the Supreme Lord. And so Advaita Acharya, he just loosens the stranglehold of Maya sufficiently so that the living entity can manifest. He has free will, but it had been completely overpowered. The potential for free will was there, but he wasn't using it because he was so bewildered. But when Advaita Acharya loosens that bondage, then the living entity can make the choice. Should I continue to turn away from the Supreme Lord, or should I turn towards the Supreme Lord? Jai Sisi Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai. Now, come to our next question. So the third question, what was the third question? Why is Advaita Acharya the cause of the appearance of the Lord in the world? Okay, now we come to the next question. Why is Advaita Acharya Grihastha? the way in which Advaita Acharya brings the living entity, loosens his bondage in this world and turns his attention towards God is the path of Archan. Archan means Vaidhi Bhakti, Pancharatrik Marg, right? Because in the beginning we don't have spontaneous love. We don't have greed in the beginning. We just think, oh, I'd like to take shelter of God. Tell me what to do. Tell me. Archan by numbers. Step 1, do this. How many times do you have to wave the incense? How many times do you have to offer the flower? Like this. We don't have a spontaneous love. We don't have the natural relation in the beginning. We just need to have some regulations to express, oh my Lord, I want to serve you. I am your servant. To become acclimatized, to gradually acclimatize ourselves to the position of being the servant of the Lord and leaving behind the domineering spirits of trying to enjoy the physical energy. So, because the path of Archan forms the center of Varnashram Dharma institution, therefore, and because it's compulsory for a Grihastha, therefore, Mahavishnu, who is the closest person to you, who loosens the bondage of Maya, and he's the first person to try to bring us out from the material world, that's why he has the Leela of being a Grihastha, and why he does Archan to bring the Supreme Lord here. Nothing is random. Nothing is haphazard. Everything in Krishna Lila and Gaura Lila has a profound significance. Think about it again. The path of Archan is the center of Varnashram Dharma. Atha Pumbi Dvijashrishta Varnashrama Vibhagasha Swadustitascha Dharmasya Samsiddhi Haritoshanam. All the purpose of all the divisions of duties in Varna and Ashram, ultimately they're meant for the Samsiddhi Haritoshanam, to please Supreme Lord Hari. That's what it's for. Archan, which is a regulative devotional service, is the central point and purpose and the core of Varnashram Dharma. So much so that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Padi says, Chari Varnashrame jadi Krishna nahi bhaji swakama kariti se rorva parimaji. If a person will follow all of his duties of Varna and Ashram very carefully, but he doesn't do bhajan to Krishna, he doesn't serve Krishna, then he falls down and goes to hell. Raurav Parimari. Parimaji means it falls down and becomes enveloped and incorporated into the society of Raurav. The hellish place below the 14 planetary systems. The Maharaurav is there. Now someone will say, but wait a minute, he was a good person. He followed all the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma. No, but it's not like that. Because karma is not mechanical. Karma is not mechanical. One person does his duties in Varnashram and he falls down. Another person does his duty in Varnashram and he goes up. Same activity produces different result. Why? It all depends on adhar. Adhar means honor, respect towards Yagyapati. Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhyate Panta Nanya Tattosha Karanam. The performance of the work and activities, karma in Varnashram Dharma, is like a sacrament. It's sacred. Doing your duty, your job as a Kshatriya, a Brahmin, or Vaishya, or Sudra, is like a sacrament. It's a type of worship for whom? Vishnu, the creator of the world. Your duties in the world are the worship of the creator of the world. That's Varnashram Dharma. So, because karma isn't mechanical, it's not like a vending machine that you just put your quarters in there and press the button and the Coca-Cola comes out. Karma is not like that. Everything is possible. There's Yagyapati. So Vishnu is the Yagyapati. And if someone has Adar, he does his duties, but he also does some Vaidhi Bhakti, some archan to Vishnu. And he has Adar, respect for Vishnu, only then the karma will work. Otherwise, karma is lame. It doesn't produce results by itself. Good karma doesn't give you good karma. Without, Vishnu Thakur literally says, Adar abhav, fal abhav. Adar abhav, fal abhav. If there's no respect, then there's no fruit from pious activities. Consider that. So, the Varnashram Dharma system, its center is actually the to bhajan, to worship the Supreme Lord. And without that, everything fails. It doesn't even uphold the people. Everything collapses. So, Advaita Acharya, being the Yagyapati himself, he is the Vishnu who is worshipped by the performance of Varnashram Dharma. Vishnu Aradhate Bandha. But the purpose of this Varnashram Dharma is to loosen our bondage, and so we make the choice to fully surrender to the Supreme Lord. In this way, Advaita Acharya is the mediator who is bringing us out of Maya and bringing us towards Sri Krishna. Now we come to the really interesting things. There's a saying in the Smriti Shastra, Na Devo Devam Archayet. Na Devo Devam Archet. It means, unless you're a Devata, you cannot serve a Devata. Let's say you want to serve Indra. Okay, go on, do it. You can't do it. You'll have to become a Devata yourself and go to Indralok, and when you have the body of a Devata, then you can serve Indra. So, Na Devo Devam Archayet. Without becoming a Deva, without becoming a god, you cannot serve a god. So in the same way, without becoming transcendental, you cannot serve Thakurji. The deity is a Sachidananda Vigraha. He's the condensed embodiment of eternity, consciousness and blissfulness. And we have a body made of, I don't even want to list the ingredients. But they don't smell good. Body is just blood and fat and urine and mucus and earwax. And this is going to serve Sachidananda Vigraha. This body is going to serve the Sachidananda Vigraha. I think not. And therefore the Smriti Shastra said, Na Devo Devam Archayat. In order to serve Deva, you have to become Deva. You have to become Sachidananda. How does that happen? Archan? By Archan Marg. So Archan has many, there are 64 angas of Archan Marg. First one, Guru Pad Ashray, take shelter of Guru. Then what? Diksha. Diksha, initiation. Now, I'm not talking about initiation, just a formality, a ceremony, a ritual, a haircut, the smell of burnt coconuts. But Vidvat Rudhi Diksha, actual Diksha. What is Diksha? Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan. Say Kale Krishna Tare Kare Atma Sam. Diksha Kale, at the time of Diksha. Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan, when the disciple surrenders completely and gives their life and soul, everything, at the lotus feet of Guru. At that moment, say Kali Krishna Tari Kari Atmasam. Krishna accepts that person as himself, as his own. Atmasam. Sam means the same as himself. What does that mean, the same as himself? Well, he is Sachidananda. So by Diksha, you become Sachidananda. Say Deyat Karitare Chidanandamoy Aprakrita Deyatara Charna Bhajay. Then the devotee Krishna has accepted him just like himself. His body, the devotee, the disciple, his body becomes Chidanandamoy, Sachidananda, and in that Aprakrita Deya, supernatural body, He serves the lotus feet of Radha Govinda. This is Diksha. Diksha process. So, these verses were spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. To whom? Who did Mahaprabhu speak these verses to? Diksha Kali Bhakta Kori Atma Samarpana. Sanatana Goswami. When? When Sanatana Goswami had traveled to Puri, and on the way to Puri, he drank some contaminated water. And by the bacteria in that water, his body became covered in a rash and sores and pus and blood was coming out, and he had a bad smell. And when he used to come to Mahaprabhu, he would try to stay at a distance and give pranam, but Mahaprabhu would quickly run, and Mahaprabhu has long arms down to his knees. Those long arms are for embracing his devotees. And Mahaprabhu would quickly run and he would catch Sanatana Goswami and embrace him. And then the blood and the pus from the sores on the body of Sanatana Goswami would be smeared on the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sanatana Goswami said, don't touch me, I'm contaminated. Mahaprabhu said, no. Your body is like, to me, the fragrance of chatusam. It's like a mixture of camphor and the kasturi musk and the oud, agur, and chandan. That's how Mahaprabhu was smelling the fragrance of the body of Sanatana Goswami. And then Mahaprabhu said this, Diksha Kali Bhakta Karyatma, your body is transcendental, because the person who surrenders to Gurudev at the time of Diksha, he gets aprakrita deha, supernatural body. So then Mahaprabhu quoted the verse spoken by Krishna in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, explaining this point. You know this verse? Marcho yada chakta samasta kama niveditatma vichitkirsato me tadamra tattvam pratipadyamano mamatma bhuyaya jakalpate vai. Very important verse. Marcho yada, when a mortal being is someone who's got this material body which is subject to birth and death. Marcho yada chakta samasta karma. That person who is in a mortal body, he gives up all karma, all self-motivated, independent, fruitive, reward-seeking activities in this world. He gives them up. Nivedit Atma, and he offers himself to Gurudev. Vichikirshato me. Vichikirshato. Chikirshato means I desire to make, and Vit means Vishesh, special. So Vishikirshato me means, Krishna said, when that person surrenders to his guru and receives upadesh, initiation and instruction in mantra, then Krishna says, I desire to make him special. How does that person become Vishesh, special, different to other persons in the world? Tadamritatvam pratipadyamano. Tada, on that time, amritatva, I make him immortal. Mayatma bhuyaya chakalpavai, and I accept him as my own, as my near and dear associate. So here, the meaning is this, that when the devotee surrenders to the Gurudev, the Supreme Lord in the form of Gurudev, then Vichikirshato me, Vishnu Thakur explains, then the Supreme Lord sends a spiritual body inside this body. But because this Diksha is part of Vaidhi Bhakti, it's part of Archan, this body is coming from Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya sends spiritual body inside this body, and then this body. Now, some people think that they're thinking that the physical body becomes spiritual. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj said, yes, you are Sahaja. The material body can never become spiritual. Matter cannot become spirit. That is the philosophy of the Sahajiyas. But because Advaita Acharya is the predominating deity of the ingredient cause, he can neutralize the karmic nature of this body. He sends a spiritual body inside this body, and by neutralizing the material effects of the ingredients of your body, now the physical body no longer becomes an impediment to the activities of the spiritual body inside it. And that's Diksha. And that's why you cannot go on the altar and serve the deities until Gurudev has given Diksha, because na devo devam archayat. Unless you are Sachidananda, you cannot serve Sachidananda. So at the time of Diksha, when the devotee surrenders, then by the mercy of Advaita Acharya, spiritual body appears inside this body. The physical aspect, the material aspects of the body, like lust and anger and greed and engaging in karma and gyan and yoga, it all becomes neutralized. And so that the physical body, the physical elements of the body, the ingredients, he's the Lord of the ingredient cause, remember, the ingredients no longer impede the activities of the spiritual body which has appeared due to the process of Diksha that was also arranged by Advaita Acharya. Now, at first, when you receive Diksha, then that may not be felt so strongly. So one may not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received Diksha, just started chanting and became mad in love of God. And sometimes it happens, those with the very high adhikar. But those with the lower adhikar, the spiritual form is there and the material form is there, but it is not unimpeded. So sometimes you feel just really great and spiritual and out of this world, and sometimes you feel like not so spiritual. But the more the devotee engages his eyes in seeing the deity, Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayo Vachanti Vaikunta Gunananvanane, the more he engages his mind in thinking about Krishna, eyes in seeing Krishna, hands in cleansing the temple, in serving Krishna, his head in bowing down, his tongue in tasting prasadam, the more he engages all of his senses in these activities, then the spiritual senses become awakened. And the effect of the material body becomes nullified. So, therefore it is said, Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papa Sasankshayam. There is the sankshay, the gradual total diminishment of all pap. That means the material aspect of the body is diminished, and the Divya Gyan, one's divine knowledge, awakens. And so, when the physical aspect of the body is completely neutralized, and now that devotee is always hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, because there's no impediments, and the spiritual body only does devotional service. That's all he does. And it's because of this that the Padma Purana has said, Ache Vishnau Shiladi Guru Shu Naramati Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. He is a resident of hell who thinks that the deity is made of stone. He is a resident of hell. He has a hellish mentality who thinks Guru is an ordinary person. An ordinary human being. Gurudev is a parikar, eternal associate of the Lord. Vaishnava Jati Buddhi, and he has a hellish mentality who thinks that a Vaishnav has a jati. He has a caste. What caste are you? Sudra. What caste are you? Kshatriya. What caste are you? Brahmin. What caste are you? Untouchable. Outcast. Malecha. Javan. If we project these upadhis on a Vaishnava, this is great offense. You know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said to Haridas Thakur, you and I, we are of the same caste. How can Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say that he's in the same caste as Haridas Thakur? Haridas Thakur is from a Mohammedan family, Muslim family. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is from a very high-class Brahmin family. How can Mahaprabhu say we are in the same caste? Why? Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpan. Say Kali Krishna Tari Kari Atma Sam. Because at the time of Diksha, one attains a spiritual body. Mahaprabhu is saying, my body is Satchidananda, and Haridas Thakur, your body is Satchidananda. And this is why one should never think a devotee is from India, or he's from the West, or he's from a Brahmin family or a Kshatriya family. Why? Because that's all part of the material body that was neutralized at the time of Diksha. And his Satchidananda body is that now he's the same caste as Supreme Lord. He's part of the paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Panchatattva is one indivisible reality. Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All the Vaishnavas are transcendental. When the anarthas are clear, then a person, Madhyamadikari, can realize it. This is why it's said. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta jikshyasti chat pranatibischa bhajantamisham sususraya bhajana bhigyam ananyamanya nindadi shunyaridam ipsita sangalabdya. If anyone is chanting Hare Krishna, then you should honor them from the core of your heart. But if anyone has Diksha, you should give Dandavat Pranam. Why? Diksha Kali Bhakta Kori Atmasama. Because they have become part of the paraphernalia of God. So when you come in the temple, you give pranam to God. When God's associate, when the devotee who is Atmasam, Krishna has accepted him to be like himself, comes, then we have to give Dandavat Pranam. As to the Madhyam Adhikari. I remember, very nice pastime. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that when the devotee has received Diksha and the elements have become, their activities are neutralized, so he's fully acting on the spiritual platform. Now, even his senses, they don't touch the material world. Because, why? The Supreme Lord, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur doesn't say who, but we know who it is. It's Advaita Acharya, because he is the predominating deity of the ingredients. He makes the ingredients of everything that the devotee uses and touches Satchidananda, transcendental. So when a devotee goes to a place and he uses anything, then it all becomes transcendental, and his senses don't touch the material elements. He never becomes contaminated. He's really in the stage of anasaktasya vishayam, yukta vairagya. This philosophy of yukta vairagya is not a simple thing. It is so deep, so profound. Once on a morning walk with Gurudev, I said, Gurudev, if a guru is a sadhan siddha, then is his body actually Satchidananda, like Krishna's body? Is it spiritual or is it spiritualized? But like if you put iron in a fire, then it becomes like fire. Gurudev said, even if Guru is Madhyamadikari, you should think he's Satchidananda. And then he paused and then he said, not only that, you should think his shoes, his cloth, his bed, his toothbrush is Satchidananda. Gurudev said. At the time I was very shocked. And I thought, he's saying that, so, better to err on the side of caution, right? Better to give more respect than less respect, because don't want to commit offense, right? It's a good. Better be on the safe side. But he wasn't saying that at all. He meant it. He meant it. He meant it. One who has actually Diksha is Satchidananda. And whatever they touch all becomes transformed. Why do we keep our Gurudev's shoes? His bed? His cloth? Mahaprasade Govind. I don't want to make anyone hungry. But Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Swapapunnavatam Rajan Vishwaso Naiva Jayate. If a person, Swalpa Punya, he has a little Punya. That means he's not associated with Vaishnavas so much. Not material Punya. If a person has not deeply associated with pure Vaishnavas, then Vishwaso Naiva Jayate, he cannot have the Vishwas, the unflinching, unbreakable faith in Mahaprasad. that this is transcendental. It's been offered to the Thakurji, and now it is transcendental. Govinde literally means Govinda. He cannot believe that the deity is actually Krishna. Pratima nahi tumi sakshat Brajendanandan. You are not a deity, you are not a statue, you are not an idol. You are directly the son of Nanda Maharaj. So Mahaprasadi Govinde Nama Brahmani. Nama Brahmani means the name which is a Shabda Brahma. Nama Brahmani means the Shabda Brahma, transcendental name. Because when the body of the Vaishnava becomes Sachidananda, then when he speaks, this sound is not material sound. It is not Shabda which emanates from the Jadakash. That means, that sound is a quality of space. Just like if you take a rock and you bang the rocks together, spark will jump out. Because fire is there inside the earth. So in the same way, sound is a quality of ether. So when some air comes up from the stomach and then it hits the vocal cords, it gets obstructed in various ways by the lips and the teeth, and all the letters of the alphabet come out. So that sound is the Shabda Samanya, material sound, and it is emanated. It is like a spark coming from a stone. It is the quality in the ether around us, material ether, and it's released by the movement of air. So that's material sound. But when a pure Vaishnava who is situated in a Sachidananda body, he really has Diksha, he became Madhyamadikari from that point onwards. Then when he speaks, the Sachidananda tongue is producing Shabda Brahma. Understand? Transcendental sound. Even if the philosophy is very hard and you don't understand the word of it, doesn't matter, just listen. And the soul will wake up. What's happening to me? I don't understand anything. But I'm waking up. Because it's a Shabda Brahma. Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabhavad Grayam Indriya. The name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna cannot be touched by the material senses. So the spiritual body and spiritual senses are awakened through the process of Diksha, and then they can vibrate the Shabda Brahma, transcendental sound. So Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave. Vaishnav. Who is a Vaishnav? Who has received Diksha and is absorbed in serving Thakurji is a Vaishnava. So, to have faith in the Vaishnava is to realize that they are Sachidananda. Krishna has accepted them as his own. And so, Sri Advaita Acharya, he is Vishnu. Vishnu creates the world. The duties of this world have at their center the Vaidhi Bhakti. Manifest in the form of Archan. Advaita Acharya sets the example of doing Archan to invite Mahaprabhu to this world. And he brings Mahaprabhu to this world by the power of his love. Advaita Acharya is there in your heart when you pray to God. He gives you some good sense. He says, pss, 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 pss. Go to Sadhu Sangha. Go and associate with pure devotees in the heart. He gives us some good sense. And then that same Lord in the heart appears in front of us as the devotee to speak to us clearly that words we can hear. Jive sakshat nahi tati guru cheta rupe, shiksha guru hoy Krishna mahant swarupe. Because we cannot clearly hear the voice of the Lord in the heart, therefore he comes out in the form of shiksha guru and gives instruction to us directly. And when we surrender to Sri Guru and accept the process of Diksha, it's Advaita Acharya who sends the Satchidananda body and neutralizes our worldly karmas. And then when we engage in Vaidhi Bhakti, what happens? Vidhi Marga Ratha Jane Swadinata Ratna Dhane Raga Marga Karina Pravesh. Only those persons who very carefully, meticulously, with great attention, follow the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti. Chanting Harinam every day, remembering Gayatri every day, serving Thakurji every day, doing service in the temple, cooking, and other serving in the mission of our Acharyas. So a person is engaged, Vidhi Magarata Jane, Swadinata Ratna Dhane. At first, the intelligence is dependent on logic and shastric injunction. Nata Shastra Nayuktim Cha Talobutpati Lakshanam. We think, I have to do this. Scripture says this. And I have, by reason, I understand this is the right thing to do. But, Swadinatta Ratna Dhani, if we follow Vaidhi Bhakti, we follow the path of Archan in the association of devotees in the path of Ragamarg, then Swadinata means independence. Our motivation, our inspiration will become independent of the crutch of logic and rules and regulations. And that will be the symptom, talobutpati lakshanam, the symptom of the awakening of greed. And one will ragamaga karina pravesh. Greed will awaken in the heart, and then one's activities will not be motivated by the order, only the order of scripture and scriptural reason, but they'll be spontaneously performed out of joy. So one enters from Vaidhi Bhakti into Ragamarg. Therefore, Doya Kora Sitapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai. The mercy of Advaita Acharya from the very beginning of our first inkling that God even exists, up to the engagement in Vaidhi Bhakti, in Archan, the process of Diksha, and then he passes us on to Gaur Nitai and enter into Ragamarg. This is the mercy of Advaita Acharya. See Advaita Tattva ki jai. Gaur Premanande.